last time, but I've got a completely cockeyed angle there at the moment. Let's just have a swivel around a moment. Bear with me, folks. Good people. Ah, that might be better. Let's just have a little bit of that one there. Yeah. Coolio. So we're recording. And those of you who were watching the other night, I did a sort of dummy run with what the Americans call a flashlight, we call a torch. And I posted it. I got some interesting observations actually, because whilst the torch didn't come on, there were some folk who said it's a bit of an ask of Mum to provide that sort of energy. Others said that they saw Mum and Dad's face around here in front of the flower pot. A number of people said they saw shimmering in the room. And I just rewatched it tonight and I can actually see, but I'm, you know, not supposed sceptical, but I want it sort of to be absolutely obvious. But I could see the sort of shimmering going on above the end of the sofa seat where Mum used to sit. That was her sort of place in the lounge. So as far as I'm concerned, there wasn't anything sort of startling, but interesting nevertheless. I think we've put down the sort of orb-like type of thing right at the beginning as almost certainly an insect, a moth or some such, because it did have sort of all the hallmarks of an insect. So those of you who know me, you know, and those of you who don't know me, I'm very down to earth about all this sort of thing. And I also have certain parameters I work by, that what I see with my own eyes I will absolutely believe, and what I feel within me I will believe. But I will always look also for an external and kind of obvious reason, and I don't want to be making claims of something paranormal or extraordinary, magical, mystical, out of this world, and pushing it, because that's just silly. I do believe that if Spirit want to make communication, they will make it very obvious as best they can, but it's quite possible, of course, that our vibrations and the dimension that we live in doesn't do the crossover that easily. Because if it did, then we would be communicating daily and quite comfortably, and we wouldn't necessarily have to do trance work and be in darkened rooms with red lights in cabinets and all of that sort of thing. I do have a particular view about this, and that's not dissing trance mediumship or anything like that, because I've done it and do it myself on occasions, and it is quite extraordinary. I'll give a little example. I had visitors last night, and at one point, and I very rarely do this, I was talking to the wife, and she was talking about her grandparents, and definitely an aura appeared around her head, both sides. And just as I was about to say that to her, she said, in answer to have her grandparents passed over, she said, yes, on both sides, which I thought was quite interesting. And then a name came into my head, and I just literally said, who's Rose? And she said, oh, that was my aunt. And then fairly quickly after that, another name came in my head, and I kind of dismissed it and wasn't actually going to say anything. But I did, and I thought, you know, I've got one hit with Aunt Rose. And I said, and who's Trudy? And she said, oh, that was her dog. So, oh my God, I'm like, whoa, I got the power here, haven't I? And that's what I mean. I don't make any great pretension about all of this. it's there. I do what I do. And as you folks out there do know and will learn now, my main thing is the healing, and I'm very blessed with an extraordinary connection to the angelics, and you know, they channel through me the most extraordinary divine energy, and the power is mind-blowing, and the results of old school hands-on healing are miraculous. They really are. When you take pain levels of 8 out of 10 down to a 2 within a few minutes, you know, how's that doable? Back in the day I did some work. I love name dropping David Icke, but it was all up in the very heady days of the People's Voice 3 or 4 years ago. And I forget where I'm going with that now. It's nearly 2:30 in the morning, mind you. I don't know where I was going with that. Why did I mention David Icke? Probably just to name drop. No, it was that I want to get the word out there. Just one guy, you know, but I don't mind being the face, one face for it all. And this isn't out of my ego, it's that I'm quite prepared to be just simply one of the voices who does get the word out there to say to people, you know, out there in, not necessarily in the spiritual zone per se, although we are all spiritual, not everybody's sort of aware of it day to day. They've got their lives and their work and their money worries and all of that going on. That there are a lot of people who don't sort of circulate within the zone that I inhabit pretty intensely, because that is what I do. But that's where I was going with that. That about we did actually just one psychic presentation up there, and they were the days of Kieran O'Keefe, Dr. Kieran O'Keefe. We were like, you know, we were on TV under the cameras, and I was kind of like, oh, you know, hopefully this will work, and my psychic surgery stuff. And Kieran O'Keefe, who was supposed to be the sort of the leveler and the neutral guy in this, and he said, well, when I pointed to the guy's knees as being the area, he said, well, Ted has got this sort of voice, this very comforting voice and whatever, and there may be an element of a little bit of placebo going on. And I don't know whether he expected me to sort of argue the toss on that and say no, but I thought, oh my God, actually that actually is a very valid point, because, you know, when as a healer, in my case, and a psychic surgeon, when I say to any client, don't tell me what's wrong with you, I will tell you the area or the condition or whatever, each and every time I do that, this very wry smile develops on their face without fail. And from that moment when you told them and they realise that you know, and you haven't been told and you couldn't have known any other way than by intuition, by psychic, by paranormal, whatever you want to call it, then you kind of got them in one way. And I've said for the years afterwards, you know, I could then actually do anything because I have their trust, so I could do anything thereafter, and they would kind of have the faith that I could help them. The fact of the matter is, I do channel an energy. I know I channel an energy. I feel the energy on a daily basis. And I know where, from my perspective, where that comes from. Hence, partly I'm sat here now because back in the day when Mum passed and made the transition, I wasn't perhaps as affected as some people might be. And I said consistently, and I still say now, that I wasn't sad, I was glad, because she went in the way that she wanted to go, and she was ready, and she was prepared, and she had the year that she wanted. She said that very specifically. But I'm also certain that energy cannot die. And so existence and consciousness and the energy of a person passing to spirit persists out there in the universe, wherever that is. I'm now being energized, so someone, I don't want to be all spooky Russell Granty stuff, but someone has actually stepped in, and actually stepped in sort of into me in a way. That's quite interesting. Always been told that I shouldn't do trance work or medium sort of connection by myself, certainly not trance work, so I won't do that, but I just felt this sort of cloak and yet within of energy coming through, and it's almost certainly my mother, because that's pretty much who I'm talking about. So that's quite interesting, and it's just sort of settled now, so there we go. This is just another video, 2:30 in the morning on a Friday night. We're doing Mum's ash scattering next week. 2.5 years plus since she made the transition, but now is the time and the family's ready to do it, and there's no real time limit on when you do these things. It's hard to sometimes believe that 2.5 years plus have gone by since the event. So I'm doing the video for a number of reasons, essentially actually to see if anything appears, whether anyone sees anything that I don't see. I don't at the moment perceive anything, except that little sort of element of energy. I'll just sit quietly for a moment and see if anything else transpires. I do feel sometimes a touch on the head, on the hair, and I'm still not fully used to that in a way that it feels like your hair settling itself. It's very subtle, but again, it's quite possible that that's a contact and just a gentle I'm here from beyond. And that's the point, you see, because I never use the word death, or I don't like using the word death, because it's very final and it's actually kind of inaccurate in my view, because there is certainly an afterlife, there is certainly a continuation of existence without a shadow of doubt, and we step from this life into the next when we're passed, and into another zone, into another dimension, and every so often the worlds cross over, those dimensions do something where they blend back in and go out, and so we will see apparitions and ghosts and things that have been before and have crossed over. I don't know any more than anyone else about time and how it works as such, but it's quite possible it goes in an infinity loop and comes back on itself, and every so often there are crossovers. If you see a movement on one side of the video, that's my hand. I can just see myself. So I've had a little bit of a ramble here, but so if you're bored, switch off. If you're interested, keep watching. And I'd value anybody's views on what they see on this video, if anything. And having discovered Facebook Live last week, I will very soon start to be broadcasting things on there. And I must emphasise that I'm only doing that because it really isn't out of any ego. I'm not that way, but there have been people who say that they would value a meditation being done. There are others who would like me to do the 1 minute moment that I used to do on Virtual Vision FM when I co-hosted with Era. And a version of that will be coming back, folks, hopefully fairly soon, but Era and I have had a bunch going on. Things are constantly evolving here, and Era us a deal on. So a shout out to everyone I know. Do you know, why does Sandra Milton come straight into my head? But you're going to get the first shout out. Then Paul Leonard, Gianni Gregg, Emmy and Lee, my sister, my niece Claire, Julie, my sister, Avril, Louise, return to us Louise, hi Elise, hi Kelly, Kelly the Kelly, and yeah, hope I'm missing one, Pauline, the new one to the group, which is awesome. Tall Joe, how could I forget Tall Joe? Shout out to everyone I know. Madge West, got to mention Madge West, Emma Louise King and all that bunch. Janet Blake, Stan Donnelly, Sharon Bracey, Alfie Divine. Shout out to you, fella. Take a look at Alfie Divine if you haven't done yet. There's a phenomenon in our lifetime. So speak soon, folks. I'm just sitting having a bit of a ramble, sitting in my chair that I sit in as my throne. And tell me if you see anything on the video. The purpose of this originally was actually just mainly to see if there was any energies going on. I'm not going to use the torch and anything now. And it would be very cool if Mum has sort of wafted across in orb form or made her presence noticeable on video. I don't expect anything, but it would be very good if something did. And I have cake in foil that I'd forgotten about. Delicious cake. Guilty. Alright folks, I'll do one of these again when I feel like it. It just suddenly comes into my mind and I get inspired to do it. So, big bulk approaching, lift up video. One snoozy dog down there, look at him. My boy, the best boy, my angel dog. Can we see him? Hopefully he's on there. No, folks, namaste. Let me know what you see. Sorry, this is not professional. Oh, no, we don't want my face in it. Do we? There's Mother. No, people.